love riding my bike. I love running. I don't care what they think about it. I love it.
At that point, when I knew I was going to win, chills just went up and down my entire body.
I don't believe there are any good or bad foods. Food is food.
I still feel so passionate about getting that record that I'm like, I'm just going to do it.
As an athlete, I was like, what's my story, or what's your story? What can you learn from it? And what can you teach people?
Welcome to the IronWomen podcast. I'm Alyssa Godesky here with my co-host, Haley Chura. Haley is fresh off of her travel back to Montana from Chattanooga, Tennessee, where she was the 4th place champion at Ironman Chattanooga this past weekend. And Haley, it had been a year-ish, almost a year, full year since your last Ironman. So how was it to hear those magical words as you ran down that red carpet yet again? Was it everything that you thought you were missing in your life?
Yeah, I feel complete now. I know. This is what I've been waiting for. All my problems actually just went away. And I'm just like a happier person. That's all it takes. But
you too can be an Ironman by just signing up and doing that short swim bike run. Or just bike run sometimes.
just bike run. Yes, there was no swim. So when we talked last week, I think I had mentioned a little bit of the weather that I had looked at going into race week. And I was saying how, the temperature is going to dip. And I had sort of heard rumblings of Hurricane Helene. I had not grasped the full extent of the hurricane. And maybe that was like a little bit of ignorance is bliss. We recorded early in the week and things got progressively worse. And I honestly felt very crazy flying toward the southeast of the United States I think I flew Wednesday before the race, and just getting all these weather reports. And I felt like I was about to go take a vacation at the Hampton Inn and just do no racing. And so, luckily for Chattanooga, the storm didn't hit Chattanooga too hard. I saw a few downed trees and there was a lot of rain, but and then the river, of course, was flowing way too fast to safely hold a swim. So that was the right decision to cancel that swim. And unfortunately, a lot of the other surrounding areas got hit very hard by that storm. I know Augusta 70.3 was canceled, and I believe the residents of Augusta still don't have power and possibly won't for another 2 weeks. Just trees down everywhere, power lines down everywhere, lots of flooding in Asheville, Greenville. I know that there actually were some athletes who came from those areas and did come race, and kudos to them for compartmentalizing their lives enough to still do an Ironman, because that's a lot going on. I had athletes who were bailing water out of their basements in Atlanta before driving up to Chattanooga. And I mean, that's just not the pre-race activation sharpening workouts that I had written for them, but they got it done.
Yeah, no, I was similar thing where I, had athletes racing. And so I feel like, I don't know, I guess the aftermath has gotten a lot of media attention. So I'm very aware of that. I was like, how was I not aware of what was imminent, right? In those days kind of coming. And so I really didn't realize, I felt very ignorant to it all too, to realize how bad it actually was going to be for everything going in. And then when I heard my athlete send me the thing that Augusta was canceled, and I was like, oh man, what does this mean for Chattanooga? And I was afraid to even text you because I was like, I'm sure everyone is texting Haley right now to find out what's going on. So I'm not even going to bother her. I'm just going to find out with the rest of the world, as it happens. But I was, I was happy to see that it was going on. I trusted if they were canceling Augusta, right? There was a safe way, and, Chattanooga must have not gotten hit that hard. And I was happy for you to get to kind of go do that. But man, it was kind of eerie to see that it was still going on in the midst of all of this other kind of chaos in that part of the country. But hopefully the athletes that did race and are from those parts were able to kind of still, find happiness in the day and be able to do something that they obviously worked really hard for, and weren't able to let the hurricane spoil that too. So there is good, but definitely wishing all the best to those athletes who had to travel back to Atlanta and those other kind of surrounding areas in Augusta and Western North Carolina, Florida, all of that. I mean, who are dealing with the aftermath. There's just no way to understand or comprehend or any of that, I think.
Right. Yes. No, I think everyone was kind of just doing their best and using, what was available. And I know those cleanup efforts are not small. So we are definitely wishing our best to everyone who was in the path of that hurricane.
And Haley, so we already mentioned the swim was canceled. So it was a time trial start for the pros. And so I think, what was your number going off in the time trial? And then I'm already going to spoil this because I want to spoil it and make the call that you did post it yesterday. So I guess I'm not really spoiling yesterday, but you ran a sub 3, split off of the bike yesterday or Sunday as well. And so that's super exciting. I know you've been working on that, and I'm sure you felt like your training has aligned with that for a while, but it's always really good to feel like finally doing it in a race. And on a course like Chattanooga, that's pretty hard. Chattanooga's not flat, right? So
Right.
yeah.
I have a few things. I've been a pro for a long time, 11 years. And so there's the list of things that I still want to do with my pro career gets a little bit shorter each year, I feel like. And one of those things on that list was breaking 3 hours in a marathon off the bike. And I was 3:05 in Coeur d'Alene a few years ago. So that was the closest I have been. And honestly, going into Chattanooga, I did not think this was the course where I would break 3 hours, just because it is a hilly marathon course, and typically a very hot race. And I wanted to put together the best full Ironman that I could. And there are certain courses that lend itself more toward a really fast run split, and I didn't think necessarily the Chattanooga course did. But going into race day with the storm and just kind of the swim cancellation, the bike course was also changed a couple weeks before the start, because I think they just didn't quite get the road permits to go into Georgia. So we actually raced 3 laps on a highway, and that made it a lot faster, the bike a lot faster. It was also a few miles short. And so it was a little bit short bike course, and then very, very fast road conditions, like perfect pavement.
That's
basically.
awesome. Yeah.
It was very rainy. It was very rainy because we had some aftermath of that storm coming through, and also a little chilly. Lining up for the time trial start was a little bit wild. It was definitely a different kind of race morning. We started at 8:22, which is quite late. You think of that race in Coeur d'Alene where we started at 5 a.m. So it's 3.5 hours later than normal, which was nice for me because I don't know what is wrong with me on jet lag these days, but going from mountain time to Eastern time, I'm cannot get myself awake. So it was nice to have a leisurely morning. I will add, there were people who went to the local YMCA and swam 2.4 miles before the start. There was even apparently some woman who was swimming in a hotel pool, and she had 15 people out cheering for her, in a 10 or 15 yard hotel pool.
Oh my gosh.
5 in the morning. And I also met another woman who went and swam in a lake, a local lake. I think she was local.
Okay.
And so people got their
made it happen. Yeah.
Experience.
Oh my gosh.
I was not one of those people. It was totally fine with me starting on the bike. I feel like I still am an Ironman.
Yeah, totally.
That swim.
Yeah.
So, but kudos to the folks that did that. I will also add, there were people who pivoted from Augusta 70.3 who were planning to race Augusta, and they allowed them to come and register and race Chattanooga the day before.
Wow.
Including one of my athletes, Courtney,
oh my gosh,
who was doing her very first 70.3 in Augusta. She was driving from Louisville, did not quite make it to Augusta because she had to go through Asheville. And the text that I got from her, I was it was Saturday, the day before the race. And I think I might've been doing, some riding or something like that. So I got a text that was hey, because they had to go home and couldn't go the same way they had driven there. They had to go through Chattanooga. And she was oh, I'd love to say hi. I'd love to cheer. I have to come through Chattanooga anyway. And then by the end of my ride, the text was, oh, they're letting us register. I'm just going to register and do the race. And I'm oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I called her, and this wasn't totally out of left field. She had done some really long bike rides this summer, training for long course duathlon worlds. And so it was a little bit longer than we had been planning to do that weekend, but there were just some major pivots. I think Jackson Laundrie also is a pro male who was planning to race Augusta 70.3, race Chattanooga. Lisa Baccaris, I think, was the only pro woman who was planning to race 70.3 Augusta, and then did come up to race Chattanooga. She did do it as a planned DNF, I believe. Like she wanted to, she did not plan to run the marathon. So, which she did tell us about that ahead of time. But just, I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with all the athletes and how they handled those pivots. I mean, I know that is part of our sport. We saw it so much this summer with the Paris Olympics and the potential of a duathlon there, and all the athletes we talked to were so ready for any situation. And so it is almost part of triathlon. But this was major. I'm like going from a half to a full, even without a swim is a big pivot.
I mean, just even like the finding nutrition, right? Like, do I have more nutrition? I mean, there's a lot.
That's what Sarah True said.
Cramming into things, right? Like
that's what Sarah True was saying. But I was like, oh, there's aid stations.
Yeah.
Like there's an expo, they can go buy some stuff. But yeah, it's a quite different experience. I mean, and honestly, I think the biggest a half marathon to a marathon is a big jump. Like that's a big mental and physical jump.
112.
That's true. The whole thing is a big like mental and physical jump. And so I am so impressed with the athletes who did that. I mean, I'm impressed with all the athletes. I always am at every Ironman because there's no easy way to do an Ironman. But that pivot was really, really impressive. But going back to my own race, I know it's a little bit different. So I have done one other race that was like this. I did Waco 70.3 years ago. That was also a canceled swim duathlon with just time trial, start, bike, and run. And the biggest thing is that you are racing people, but you can't necessarily see them. And that's a little bit different for the pro race. I know age groupers race like that quite often because we have a lot of swims that are time trial starts now. And so it's a little bit different from the race dynamics. And it's just a little bit weird, like being dry on the bike. We weren't dry for very long, but just wearing socks, being dry. It was a rainy bike ride, but it was very fast. Again, good road surface, just kind of rolling hills on a highway. And with 3 loops, I know people were pretty nervous about traffic with, just bike traffic mostly. And I feel like it was pretty good. It was, I mean, yes, there was some, because of how long it took to get all the age groupers on the course too, like we were coming even on our 3rd loop and people were just coming onto the bike course. And so it was crowded, but I feel like people were really respectful and I didn't hear of any big tangles or anything like that. So thank you to the age groupers who did, move over if they needed to and were just really, really respectful of our racing. And I was shocked by how fast I was going on the bike, I think I hit like 56 miles in like 2 hours and 15 minutes, which I think would be my best time ever for like a half Ironman bike split.
Wow.
Like, oh my God, am I going too, well, I thought I was going too hard and maybe I was in the first half, but also I'm getting like passed. So I'm like, okay, everyone's going this hard.
Right. Yeah.
And then coming out on the run, I think, I don't even know what position I was, maybe like 5th on the course, but actually like in 7th or 8th place, I think.
That sounds right. Yeah.
So that was like a little wild, but it is like a full marathon. But I will say, I mean, it was drizzling for parts of it for the pro run, I think, for when we were out there, and just a lot cooler temps than most other Ironmans I've ever done. And I think that helped a lot for running fast. And I'll also add that I forgot to pack a watch. So I actually did that with no watch. Like,
Okay, cool.
No splits for like my own pace. I had no idea. I knew I was running pretty hard and I feel like I'm pretty good at judging my effort. I have been doing this for quite a long time and that's one of the perks. And I thought about in the pre-race days when I realized I didn't have a watch, I was like, should I, go buy one or borrow one? But honestly, I just didn't want to spend the money because I have a perfectly fine watch at home. And I also, thought about borrowing. I had some friends who came up and they offered me, a watch, but it's hard. Like the settings on a GPS watch are a little hard and no one just had like a Timex. I'm like, does anyone just have like, I could do some math, while I'm running, but no one has those anymore. So I was just worried about like trying to figure out other people's settings and doing that on race morning. I was like, I don't need this frustration. And I figured it was going to cause more frustration than it was worth. And I mean, the only sad thing is I don't have the Strava file from my best ever marathon on the bike, but that's okay. It still counts, right?
It still totally counts. Yes, of course.
But yeah, it was an interesting run. I mean, I think I did physically pass a few people, but it was really wild. I think like Danielle Fateau, when I passed her, but then I was like, she had still started several minutes behind me. And so I was getting splits later and they're like, you're, 1 minute behind Danielle, even though like physically I had passed her a few miles before. And so it's like definitely a really interesting way to watch. And then even one of the things like, they're like, you're catching Angela. And I had never, it's Angela Nath. I hadn't seen Angela all day. So I was like,
oh, that is really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a very different way to race, but you just race a lot more like within yourself and
Totally.
you're just kind of like chasing ghosts a little bit. And it was fine. It was fun. I mean, we were all in the same boat and it was fun to like feel that good and engaged for the whole run. Cause I think that might be the first time in 15 years of Ironmanning that I feel like I was like mentally really with it the whole run. And that was really fun. And I think that was maybe nutrition and the weather and possibly just experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, a combination
and maybe
of
not
all those
having the
things.
watch because you're just like more in your own, like you're not looking at the watch to tell you how you feel. You're like paying attention, maybe, I don't know, to each like thing within yourself more, who knows? I think that could be, I don't know if it's like worth repeating as an experiment, but it could be. I don't know. We'll see. Right.
Well,
I mean, I think there is like something to that.
Yeah. And I will add my best ever Kona finish when I finished 13th in 2022. That morning, my watch broke like before the swim. And so I actually had some precedent for I've done a marathon with no watch before. And it is pro racing is racing, and so and also I will add Ironman is, especially in a course like Chattanooga where you have a flat section and then you have a very hilly section, you aren't necessarily running a very steady pace. It's not like a standalone marathon because I don't know if I could do a standalone marathon without a watch, like because that one it's like you're trying to keep within like a 5-second range, and this one Ironman, it's going to be bigger. You're going to have bigger ranges between your fastest and slowest miles. And so maybe I have a little bit of things but precedent on this and maybe I'll repeat it. I don't know. It was a good race to try new things just because there was so many new things happening anyway with the canceled swim and just new bike course, everything.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to feisty podcaster Sarah True. Came in first. Sarah's now 2 for 2 winning races without swims.
I know,
a really good swimmer. So
they were announcing that before the start that Cody Beals and Sarah True are at every race with like a canceled swim. And they were like, I don't know what you two are doing, but every race that you do, you have a canceled swim. I know. And I think that in the awards, Sarah was like, she didn't make it to awards, but they did tell us that she ran that whole marathon with a piece of glass embedded in her foot. So maybe on the If We Were Riding podcast, she can elaborate on that.
I definitely need to know more about that.
A 2:54 marathon with
holy smokes
glass. I was like, they just made us all, I was like really proud of my day. And then I was like, oh, she also did it with glass in her foot.
Oh my gosh.
Probably while writing a paper and, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Doing everything else that
pushing
she
a
does.
stroller or something.
She probably did a mid-race podcast. I don't know. What can't she do?
I know. Stephanie Clutterbuck was second there. And then also congratulations to Anna Strelo, third. Anna's been on the podcast before and was really excited to see her have kind of a breakout performance there and take that Kona spot. So congratulations to those as well. And congratulations to you, Haley. I'm really excited. I hope it probably felt pretty good to like rip the Band-Aid off of Ironman racing again. And then hopefully, I don't know, maybe give you a perspective again on, I'm sure wheels are turning for next season and approaches on things. So, but first, I mean, you have a lot to go still before we're talking 2026. What year is it? 2024, 2025?
It's still 2024. It is actually October of 2024. But no, congratulations to everyone who raced, pros, age groupers. It was so fun for me to be back at a big age group Ironman. I haven't raced with like age group men in like a year and a half. I feel like so. It was actually really fun and it like a little nostalgic. I think I've been racing so many T100 races, and while I do love the closed course that we get there and pro women only, it's fun to kind of have that age grouper support sometimes, especially when they like, cheer for you and everything. So thank you to everyone who said hi. I feel like I got a lot of selfies. I met a lot of people, a lot of podcast listeners, which was always really, really fun to meet folks who are, listening to our show. And I really appreciated that. And so congratulations to all of everyone on that day. It was still very, very tough. And the only really big change I would say from another Ironman is that I'm like not sunburned. Like this is
nice.
very
Yeah,
nice.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
maybe
Totally.
saved a few wrinkles thanks to that rain.
And Haley, over this last week, our mailbag has been really filling up, which is very exciting. So thank you to everyone who's been writing in and sending in questions. And then we're actually not going to pick anything out of the mailbag for this episode because we have a long chat with our guest this week, and I'm really excited about guests this week, and I'm very excited about it. So we're just going to get into that. Haley, are we ready to talk about who we have this week?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear this one.
Okay, so on the show today, we have Tara Dower and Megan Wilmarth, aka Candy Mama and Rascal. These ladies are fresh off of the Appalachian Trail, where Tara set a new overall fastest known time, and Rascal was her crew chief. You'll hear me call Tara Tara and Rascal Rascal because I just met Rascal as Rascal, and that's how I know her. So I use her trail name, while Tara I just met as Tara. So that's just the differentiation there. Prior to this attempt, Tara's accolades certainly qualified her as an IronWoman. Highlights include 4th place female at Hard Rock 100 this year, 1st female last year at Run Rabbit Run 100. She holds the female supported fastest known times for the Colorado Trail, Mountains to Sea Trail, and the overall FKT for the Benton Mackay Trail. Rascal is also no stranger to hard things herself as a fellow trail runner and a Triple Crown thru hiker. Tara has been on a media tour since her finish on the AT, and for those folks who are wanting to hear more of the nitty-gritty of her attempt, I definitely encourage you to listen to the Single Track podcast or the Fastest Known Time podcast, where she was on both of those and really kind of gets into more of the details of the kind of the attempt itself and some of the lead up there. But I tried to ask her and Rascal some different questions, so I hope you enjoy hearing from them next after a word from our sponsors. Welcome to the IronWomen podcast. I'm here with Tara Dower and her crew chief, Rascal, on the podcast today. They are fresh off of setting the overall fastest known time on the Appalachian Trail, going under 41 days for the first time ever, 40 days, 18 hours, 5 minutes. Ladies, thank you so much for fitting me in among the media requests. My listeners are going to be so pumped to hear some tidbits from you today.
Of course. So happy to be here.
So
it's nice to see you.
To start,
again.
Yeah, I know it's been a little bit, but and a lot has happened since I've seen you. So to start out, first tell me where you are and like how are you? It's been a little over a week, I guess, a week-ish, right? Since
just about a week, yeah.
Yeah, since you finished that amazing endeavor with very little sleep and nonstop like using your brain functions. So first, Tara, I'll ask you kind of how are you? Are you having like any weird things happening as you try to get back into like a normal routine here?
I got back to Virginia Beach and I've just been kind of doing things here and there. I've been answering emails and I have like, it irks me if I have like messages open in my DMs on Instagram. Like, I don't know what it is. So I'm trying to clear those out, but it's kind of impossible at this point. It's like every day I just try to get through like a couple. So that's like a continuing battle. And then my text messages try to get through that. But then I've been trying to clean out my van. But on top of all that, I'm like really tired and really hungry. Like just right before this, I laid down to take a nap. And that's so weird for me. I don't take naps. I'm not a nap person.
Are you able
Usually.
to sleep well?
Yeah.
Like, are you falling asleep and like feel like you're getting sleep? Are you having weird dreams or nightmares or anything?
No nightmares, no
Okay.
nightmares. Luckily, I know that Liz, my really good friend Liz Durstein, who set a similar record on the AT in 2020, told me about her nightmares she would have after trail. Luckily, I'm not having any of those. I sleep through the night just fine, but I wake up at weird times and I just like 3:30. I woke up at 3:30 the
Oh
other night. I was like, oh, I
no.
would be on trail at this point. But I have been taking naps and they're not, they're kind of similar to my naps on trail. They're just kind of like I'm aware of what's going on. Like I'm not fully asleep, but I'm not awake. And that's kind of how my dirt naps were on trail. So it's not like very refreshing. And just coming off one of those, I have this coffee here. I'm trying to like refresh right now. But yeah, they're not really like great naps. I'm really hoping here soon I get just, really stellar nap in.
Yeah,
You're not
and
like
Rascal,
anticipating like a pacer coming up and being like, okay, it's time to
you
go.
gotta
Yeah.
go,
Your
right?
I'm just
minute
like
and 30 is up.
I'm just like tense. I'm like
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to shake me awake.
Let's go.
Get up.
And
Aw.
Rascal, I think you and Tara have just now spent your first few days away from each other. So how's it been going? Like, how are you doing? How is it with like only yourself to clothe, feed, shower, make sure you're walking in the right direction? How's that going?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I flew back to Salt Lake where I've been living on Friday night, so 2 days ago. And so yesterday was my first day back in mountain time. So I'm still adjusting to that time frame as well. I'm like getting up early and being like, why do I feel like rested? It's only like 5 a.m., you know? But other than that, yeah, it's just kind of like trying to get back into the swing of things and rearrange all my stuff. And I moved into a new place a little bit, so have to like kind of reset. So I've been busy, but I'm also like, yeah, I miss it. I've been missing it a lot. And we have a group text with the crew that's been going on, and we've all been like talking about stuff still and whatnot. So I still feel connected, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I imagine as the days go on and you get back to the routines, it's going to be make you a bit more nostalgic as things go on. But hopefully the sleep will continue to improve and be more restful for both of you. Tara, since you finished, I think I can't open my phone without like some sort of media exploding about this accomplishment, which is so, so exciting. You have
Yeah.
expected things, right? Single track podcast, that kind of thing, to national news, Good Morning America. You've like taken the US by storm. You're a YouTuber, right? So you're kind of used to like putting yourself out there, content online, in media and stuff like that. But this is definitely next level. So what's that been like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't gotten that question yet. That's an awesome question. I it's definitely been different because before it was like me trying to put myself out there and it's just like you know I expected some sort of reaction to like a video I posted or like a TikTok or a reel I posted. So I expect something from it. Not that I expect anything crazy. It's just like, okay, this will get like some sort of response from someone. Someone will comment on it. But I've said this 1,000 times. I didn't really allow myself to get to the point to think like I'm going to get the overall record or any record at all until the very, very end. So I was not preparing myself for what this would look like afterwards. So I would say it's like definitely overwhelming, the reaction, and I'm very thankful, but I'm definitely overwhelmed. I'm thankful that this is getting a lot of attention, and not just because it's like, I mean, it's like eyes on me, or eyes on the crew, or eyes on this like FKT. I would say it's like really exciting because there's a lot of eyes on like women in the endurance world in general, and that's like super exciting. And I hope like that side of this gets like a lot of attention, and like more women are seen, further from like the public seeing these incredible endurance feats and giving them legitimacy. But then on the flip side, this side of me that just kind of wants to go back into a cave or go back on the trail and not be noticed and just be back on the trail with like those people who were with me for Rascal or my mom who were with me for 40 days, or just be on the trail with JP doing a simple run. So part of me is just a little overwhelmed and wants to like get back into like the quiet of the trail and misses it a lot. Obviously, Western North Carolina isn't in the best shape right now, and I'm hoping for, healing there. But I definitely wish I was back on the trail.
Yeah. Well, as someone who first had the idea of going for a trail record in her brain by seeing Jennifer Farr Davis's record set and the media around that, I have no doubt that, I mean, I can't imagine how exhausting it is for you to be doing that, but I think the ripple effect of this is just so huge, and women everywhere are grateful that you're going on this next endurance journey doing the media that goes along with it. Rascal, can you tell us a little bit? So the kind of the mission, right? The name of this fastest known time for the crew was like the chump change crew, right? And so can you, I love the story behind this. I think this is like something I'm going to be adopting, this like mentality. So can you kind of give the story to our listeners behind that? I think this is like such a good little nugget for endurance athletes to take.
Yeah, so Chump Change kind of was born actually back in 2020 when I helped Tara with her Mountains to Sea FKT. And that was crazy. That was the first FKT she'd ever attempted. Like, I had no clue what I was getting into, and we just were kind of winging it the whole time. And I remember I showed up, it was like 10-ish days into this effort, and I run out on trail to meet her, and I see her, and she just like falls into the trail and starts bawling her eyes out. She's like, I'm so sorry you came all this way. Like, this is so hard. I don't know how we're gonna do this and this and that. And so I was like, oh gosh, okay, well, let's get to the road at least. Like, let's just like get out of here. We can't just sit in the middle of the trail forever. And so we got to the road, and it was like 2 miles. And then we decided to like go out on the next section. It was a couple more miles and a couple more miles later. And eventually we just kind of adopted this whole like mindset of like every little section is just chump change compared to the overall, compared to the total. And that became like a saying throughout the whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, 38 miles, chump change. Like, come on, 45 miles, chump change, whatever, because it's not the whole. You're not doing all of it right now at once. And I made a sign at the end of the Mountains to Sea Trail that was like 1,170 some miles is just chump change for Tara Dower. And that's just kind of like where that was born. And then this year, back in like February, I think it was, Tara called me and was like, this is a lot of pressure, this whole like AT FKT thing. Like, this is a lot of pressure. This is going to be a crew effort. This is not just me. This is everybody involved. And we need to come up with like a crew name and kind of like a mindset for the whole endeavor. And eventually it was just settled on like, obviously it's going to be chump change again, because yeah, every day we're going to be doing like, 55 plus miles, but that's just chump change comparatively to the 2,200 miles.
Oh, it's
and it
so
seemed,
perfect.
Seemed to
Yes.
work.
Yeah. And it's just like the attitude when you say it out loud, you're like, chump change. Like, you can't just help but be like, I can do this. I can do this any day of the week, right?
Yes. Yes.
Tara, if people do go and listen to your other interviews, which I highly encourage people that they kind of get on media and find them all and be like listening and reading. With me, like one of the things that pops up when I'm listening to you talk is the word intentional. You're very intentional with your answers, intentional with your process when you talk about preparing for the AT, intentional with your crew choice. Do you think that's always been a theme for you, or do you think that's something that's been like brick by brick through your ultra running career that you've built?
I think it hasn't always been a case that case at least. It's definitely come on from experiences from other FKTs and ultras. Yeah, I've definitely learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I think some people looking at this record, same with like a lot of these people who do these records and come out of nowhere, like Carl Sabe with the PCT, or Jen. Even though Jen had like a record before, I don't think she was out well known, but all of a sudden they come out of nowhere. A lot of people like to think like, oh, you came out of nowhere, but you just decided to do this. It's like, no, I've had, a lot of experience ever since 2019 with even 2017, since I tried to thru hike. In 2017, I tried to thru hike, and I think I've just learned lessons since then. And there's been a whole ultra / FKT career before this, even though it's not as long as some people. I will say that some people have mentioned that I haven't been in the sport that long, but for me, it's felt like a lifetime.
I know it was. I was looking at some of your like past results and stuff. And I was like, we have so much potential ahead of us. This is so, so exciting. And there's a story that you've told about your first AT attempt in 2017 where you made it about 80 miles. You had a panic attack. You got off the trail. I think this is like so, so important. And I'm grateful that you're willing and open and honest about this, because I guarantee that exact thing happened to many people who are attempting the AT this year, right? So what would you tell those people if you could sit down with them right now?
I would say like time heals those wounds. I remember just being so heartbroken because this dream was, everything for however many months I was preparing, even years. I mean, I remember watching that documentary about the AT in 2012, and that, after graduating college, everything was focused on getting on the AT. So like I would say, after I got off trail from the anxiety tech, it hurt really bad, but over time, like it became more clear, and I started understanding the reasons why I had that panic attack and why I had anxiety, and working on the anxiety. Like time definitely heals those wounds. It's not easy, but it will get better. And gosh, it is so hard to have a dream like that be squashed. I totally understand where those people are coming from. I've talked to several people about it, and it's not easy.
Yeah, I think it just makes your story so much more like, in a way, like a Disney movie, right? Like a storybook, that if that's like how it started for you on the AT, And so that was 1 year before Carl Sabe ran his 2018 record. Rascal, so with your relationship with Tara, you've known her for a while now, and you've seen her kind of evolve from, I don't know if you guys knew each other in 2017, but like, when you knew her, she was probably in the process of kind of working on some of these things, right? And becoming an ultra runner and all of these things. So did you have a perspective that like, man, this woman's like going to do great things? Like, could you see that working with Tara, or was it or was it different than that?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely both grown a lot since we first met each other in 2019. And one of the reasons that like I wanted to kind of, have a friendship with her from the very beginning is that I saw this other female who was trying to push the boundaries and like trying to better herself through this physical outlet that we're both very passionate about. It's in the thru hiking community specifically, and even in the running community, it's a male dominated sport. It's a male dominated endeavor or whatever. And so I was already like thinking about my future and thinking about like, who do I want around me in my life who's going to push me and who I'm going to, get to relate to. And so just throughout the years, it's been like every time Tara and I like have a fun idea or whatever, we bounce it off each other. We're very similar in a lot of ways. And so I think that's just like kind of how it's been so easy all this time. And that was kind of one of the biggest reasons she can just call me up and be like, hey, do you want to come like hang out for 40 days and like do this crazy thing? And I'm like, yeah, no, I guess like if my plans work out, sure, why not, But yeah, I mean, I've seen her get so much stronger over the past 5-6 years that it's like, and I've never doubted her. I don't know why I literally have no clue. I've never been able to doubt her on anything. I've just been like, yeah, we're going to do this thing. She's going to do this thing. It's going to happen. I have no clue how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. She's just really good at doing hard things. So
I love that. Yeah, I think the female friendship aspect and the intentional way that I think you've kind of highlighted that, knowingly or unknowingly, by, really encouraging women to come out and crew and pace and things like that, makes this different than Jennifer Farr Davis's attempt in a lot of ways. And I think it's one that people can really relate to, because I think these like female friendships are just so important to people and so valuable. And I love that it has resulted in this record. It's amazing to see. So, Rascal, let's talk a little bit about crew chief duties. I think our listeners have a small appreciation for your job, because I talked a lot about what I did as crew chief for a team of folks who raced across America this summer. And I finished that week and said it was like the hardest thing I've ever done. Right. And so this is that times 4 or 5, right? Plus way more prep, way more like things go into the planning and things, more remote areas. You're keeping one person going the whole time. It would be way easier for someone to say no to this than to say yes. So there's like so many more excuses to be like, this isn't going to work out. So what made you say yes?
Well, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Like, honestly, I knew it would be hard. I knew it would be crazy, but I am someone who kind of just like pushes that to the back of my mind, is like, yeah, this sounds like a fun adventure with my friend and a whole community on a trail that's arguably one of the best trails in the whole world. Like, I want to do this. I want to like see what we can do together as a crew. And so I had been thinking about it for like over a year because Tara had told me about it very seriously at Trail Days in 2023. And I was like, oh God, like this is going to happen. And, I was nervous a few times that plans were going to fall through, or like I was injured at the beginning of the summer. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do both jobs of like getting to be out there on the trail and crewing and all this stuff. But it turned out to be something that like I grew into and I really, really enjoyed. And I ended up being pretty decent at it. So
Yeah.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think,
She's
yeah.
like she's the crew captain guru right
Yeah.
now. I feel like she's about to get all these emails and texts be like,
God.
"Hey, I'm going for the record. I'll pay you to come crew me."
Yeah.
And
Make sure
better
you set the
not
price accordingly.
yeah, you better not say yes to any of them. You're mine forever.
Yeah, chump change is number one. That's top priority.
I'm
Just come up with
kidding.
an idea. We'll go right now. I'm ready.
Okay.
Tara, before the start, I was on an email chain that you were sending out to folks who would be kind of involved with the effort in the beginning days. And like what had happened was that you had your start date that you like kind of had eyeballed and intended, right? And then this rainstorm was coming into the forecast. So you were basically juggling the weather forecast, trail conditions with your start date and like permits to get you into Baxter State Park and on top of Katahdin, right? So this email chain had like some potential crew members, pacers, I think, Carl Meltzer, your coach, Megan Roach, like, all sorts of people, Warren Doyle, like people all over the spectrum of people. And you actually invited everyone to like give opinions on what you should do, right? And so I was like, oh no, like this is gonna be, I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't stress her out more, right? And so can you talk just a little bit about those first few days and like, I think that is something that's really hard, like starting, right? And like knowing what's going to happen and you just the kind of that like paralysis that happens around the decision making for that first step, right?
Yeah, because I really wanted to start. Was it the 10th Rascal? Was it the
Yeah,
9th or the 10th?
it was that Saturday we wanted to start, which was the 10th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the weather was supposed to be not great. And I think, it turned out being okay. Like the weather really wasn't that
It was
bad.
beautiful that Saturday.
Yeah. The weather, it rained. It did rain, but we were worried about there's so many river crossings in Maine. Like we were worried about the water levels there. And just like rain starting an FKT, I mean, notoriously, that's not like the best way to start out. You kind of want to
in Maine,
in Maine, I don't know, you just want the best weather possible. And so I think like I was really anxious. I was really nervous about all these things, all these unknowns, and I have, anxiety. So, and anxiety is just like that fear of the future and not knowing. So I think that just like was, the fear of not knowing was frustrating, and I just wanted to get on trail. We were sitting in this Airbnb just waiting. I felt like we were all prepared. Like I mean, I had us doing a lot of extra things. I know Rascal was tired of it. We literally went to a park and I would run out on this trail and I would run into the van crew area, and we would act out every different type of crew stop. Like I had these like, okay, I'm going to change my shoes here. You're going to feed me this and I'm going to drink a protein shake. And then I'd run back out.
This is
and
amazing.
then I'd run back in. I'd be
Mom
like,
and
okay,
I are like,
this is
ridiculous.
Oh
Mom
my
and I are
gosh,
like, why are we doing this?
But like for you, that was like what was going to make you confident, right? That like your crew knew what they were doing and like you would have, Oh, I mean, you would also make a good triathlete to like practice transitions. So
Yeah. So like we did a lot of that. We did a lot of stuff, and I remember the days leading into it. I was like, I am not confident in anything. I don't remember that, Rascal. I was just like, I don't feel prepared. I don't feel
Yeah, you
ready.
kept saying we have so much to do. I don't know if we're gonna get it all done. We can't start yet. There's so much to do. And I'm like, yeah, because you keep adding things to our list. You keep making up all these things that we need to do. We gotta go. We'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know.
It was daunting. It was so daunting. And we were all worried about not only the weather coming from the sky, but what the trail was going to be like. And I think that was a big worry for all of us. And we just didn't know when this window was going to open for us to have like just decent conditions. Not
And
only
then
on the trail, but like for driving the van in the
oh
100-mile
right.
wilderness
Oh my
and
gosh.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we
So,
were I know you guys were really concerned about that. But then there's like the other side of it, which like Baxter State Park, love them, love
mm,
beautiful park, but it's
they don't
also
love us.
they it's hard. It's hard to get permits and
It's hard to get in. They
it's
wouldn't
hard to
let
get
us in,
Oh
Alyssa.
my gosh. Oh my
yeah, there
gosh.
there
They
was a
almost
time
didn't let us in.
what was his name? Andy or something? Andy
God,
was a he was a
I
team
couldn't.
player.
I can't
He
remember
helped us
either.
at a lot. He was like, your van's over 9 feet. I don't think you can get in. I was like, Andy, get the stick out, measure us.
And he did,
Um,
and we were 9.5 feet. We were too tall, and I said, "Listen, sir, please."
You're like letting air out of the tires, like to
Yeah,
lower the van.
I'm
Oh
like,
my
I'm
gosh.
only 5'2". Let's just count that. Let's draw it at that. We'll call it a day. We'll be
I
out
think
of here before anyone even notices.
I think the physical van was under 9 feet. I think it was the fan that added.
Okay.
So I don't
Probably.
physically the van was good. I just
Yeah.
don't think, added with the fan on top of the van.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Um,
but
so
he let
there's
us
a
in. He let us in.
yeah, Andy was, a team player. He really
His
looked
name was
out for us.
definitely not Andy.
In my head, it's Andy. And
It's
then,
fine.
we get into the park and we see a ranger who was there at the Katahdin Stream. I think we stayed at Katahdin Stream campground. He was like so cool and didn't even care. Like, it wasn't even a problem.
Of course, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
They
Yeah.
put
didn't
the like
realize.
ball busters at the gate and then
Yeah.
yeah. But I
Andy,
think it's
it was really just Andy's like personal thing. It was probably just
Well,
Andy's like
they also don't, they're not huge on through hikers, and they're definitely not huge on folks who are
record
trying to do
setters. Yeah.
FKTs. So we
Yeah.
were like, let's not tell them, obviously. But then I remember driving away from that like little ranger station. I was like, the back of our van literally says like Tara Dower, FKT. Like, oh my gosh, follow us on
But
the
that
social
once they see
media.
that though, it's like you're
Yeah, I'm
driving
like,
in, hopefully.
oh.
But I think it does go to show that like when you're planning something this big, that's long, right? It's in addition to like the physical prep, the like logistical prep, there becomes a point when it's like you kind of just have to accept that like you're gonna figure things out as it goes, I think. And
Mhm.
so it's interesting to just hear the evolution for you. And then, talking about that evolution, I had the pleasure of seeing you in New Hampshire very briefly. Just after you finished Maine, made it through the whites. You were about, I think, 10 or 11 days in, maybe a little longer. You were in a rhythm, but it looked like things still felt like work for you. Like I could
Yeah.
tell your body and your mind were working very, very hard at that point. And, I saw some pictures and video and like the same for Rascal. I could tell like her brain was working really, really hard, right? Like everything felt like work for her too. And so as I saw video of you guys heading south, I was like, oh, now they're looking like it's not work, right? It's like it's evolved. So can you guys talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that evolution?
Yeah, when we saw you, I was like so decimated, demoralized. Like that was the first day out of the whites, and I was just like,
Mhm.
I remember it took like a couple days to recover. And I know I'm going in this effort, like I'm still on the trail, but you recover from like these tougher days on trail as you go, which is
Mhm.
crazy to think you're recovering as you're doing 50 some miles a day. So it took a couple days for my like mental state to get back and for my body to get back to where it was before the whites. The whites just demoralized, just like wrecked me. And Rascal likes to say that I was just like a shell of a person in those
Yeah.
areas. So when I saw you, I was like, whoa, like, whoa. You know, if people can't, if they're just watching the podcast, I was just like, or listening to the podcast, I was just like kind of like in this like weird headspace. And I remember us talking and just like, you know, you guys were talking about what I should do that day. And I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And just like, whatever, man.
Oh yeah, that was the day you got your first shower,
Mhm.
Yeah, that
right?
was the first
That's
first
right.
shower.
We were trying to, Alyssa and I were trying to convince you, like, why don't we just take a shower? Why
Yeah,
don't we
it looked like you needed a reset. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I was just wrecked. But yeah, so like I remember thinking somewhere in Vermont, you know, as we left you, I remember thinking Vermont, maybe it was like Connecticut, around that area. I remember thinking, I didn't say like this is easy, but I remember like, oh wow, this is a lot better. I feel a lot better than I did in the whites. This isn't as difficult. That was
Yeah.
really, really hard. Definitely found our rhythm. Rascal can talk about the crew aspect of it, because I feel like that really, the puzzle pieces really fit in at that point. It was in the whites, like I didn't really see a lot of what they were doing, but felt like we just really hit a solid rhythm. And like my body just came back so much stronger after the whites.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy because like the first 10 days, Tara had done all the prep for us. She had planned every single thing out. Like we just had to follow what she had written down and hope that it all worked out. Like it was fine. And so that gave us a lot of breathing room the first like 10 days to kind of figure out our stuff and figure out our groove and how we were going to do things. And it was insanely hard. Like if she hadn't planned that stuff out and we had to do plus all the planning every day, like I don't know if that would have worked. And so listen, when you met up with us, that was day one of like, okay, crew, now it's your turn to like figure out all the stops for the day, figure out the mileage, plus all the crew stuff as well. And so that was definitely, like you said, my brain was working as hard as it possibly could at every second of the day. And then it got easier and easier. Mom and I were able to like do it better together as a team. And then once we figured that out, I was able to just like quickly get it done every day at some point. And then I send out the schedule to everyone who's involved with the crew during the day. I'll be like, all right, schedule's out. Look it over for tomorrow. Please, somebody check my math, dear Lord. Because I remember there were 2 specific days throughout the whole endeavor where I really messed up the math. And nobody caught me on it until like halfway through the day. Everyone's like, wait, this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't.
Were you too little on the mileage or too high?
It was that we'd have to go further for the day.
Oh,
yeah,
that's tough. Yeah, that's not.
and that was really rough to.
That's a hard surprise to break.
Only once or twice. Yeah, it's hard because you don't want to tell Tara throughout the day like how many miles you're doing, because then she gets in her head about it and she thinks about the end of the day and she does the math on her phone and then she's like, Rascal, like daily.
Yeah. I asked because sometimes I carried my phone and it would be halfway through the day, I'd be like, can I have my phone? Rascal was like, are you doing math? Are you getting the calculator out? No.
Like, I know what you want with that phone. Can't have it. But yeah, kind of like southern Vermont and then towards the mid-Atlantic states, the crew found a groove. And then once JP joined us in New York, it was like, oh, thank God we have another pacer who can basically be full-time if we need it during the day. And so that gave a lot of more time for the crew to figure out crew side of stuff. And then we just started having fun. In between the pain and the hurt and the suffering, then we started having fun. Yeah, exactly. Don't tell Tara.
Yeah, you guys were having a lot of fun.
That was the name of the game most of the time from then on, was like, oh, man, this is so great. Nobody tell Tara.
Don't tell
nobody. Don't tell Tara. She doesn't need to know.
So when I left you there, I went home and I talked to my husband, Matt, and he asked if I thought you would get the record. And I said, I think you can if you have luck on your side. And so what I meant by that is you still had over 1,500 miles to go and literally anything could happen that would be out of your control, right? So, I mean, as we talked today, just a few days ago, a Hurricane Helene just totally rocked the last like 900 miles of the trail, right? And like, had that happen, your attempt would have been over, you know? And it's not to say you didn't have a drop of rain or anything like that, right? You had terrible weather, you had hard things happen, right? But you escaped the worst possible scenarios, you know? And so I'm curious just your thoughts on luck and karma. Like, what do you have thoughts about that? Or is it, a little bit of both?
Yeah, I think about that often, and I think about the moments with FKTs or generally in life where really crappy things happen like that. Crappy, gosh, that's not even a good word because what happened in the western part of this,
Devastating.
yeah, like the mountains over there, like is devastating. It's not crappy, but like when I think about when things happen, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the worst luck. Like, how could this happen? And then I have these moments like in this FKT attempt where things just went our way. Like we had 2 mornings after the whites, like the whites obviously weren't the best, but after the whites where it was like rainy and not great weather, but it was fine. It was okay. And I think like, wow, we had luck on our side. And I don't know. I think we were really lucky, but sometimes obviously that's not always the case. Like there are moments in my life where I'm like, yeah, that wasn't great timing. Um, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I am
Well,
thankful.
it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So like that is why we got lucky, I would say. I
Hmm.
don't know. Trail magic is another term I like to use, but it's just that this was meant to be, that we were supposed to be successful. And so I don't know. Definitely a believer in like if you're connected to the trail and you're connected to the community, like good things are gonna happen. And that's exactly what we were. We went out for the right reasons to get this record, and we did it the right way. We weren't like, not that there's like rules or anything, but we were not breaking any rules. Tara was picking up trash the whole way. She was making us pick up trash the whole way. We're good trail stewards. We have community in the trail, especially the Appalachian, because we've both been out there. Our crew had a lot of thru hikers on it, and so there's just like a lot of goodness surrounding what we did and like where we were going, and so I feel like it's
And the
more than just luck.
intentions. I feel like the intentions. I think it's not like my intentions are the best intentions when I go out there, but I think, we made it really clear, our intentions going out there, and it wasn't to like conquer the Appalachian Trail and make it, it's mine.
That's right.
No, it wasn't
No.
like that. It's just and not that I'm like, oh, this like, this like saint of the trail. It's just like, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to experience it, and whatever came out of it would, be cool. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. And Rascal's a little more spiritual than I am, but that she definitely has, she's definitely on the right train of thought there.
And Rascal, Tara has said that she didn't think she was going to make it until she was 3 miles from the finish. When
So annoying.
did you think she was going to make it?
Rascal, it wasn't annoying. It was annoying. It was the reason we got the record was because we knocked on all those trees.
Yes, every
to
single
knock on
tree
all
we
those.
knocked on. We knocked on so much tree. Barring any incident or injury, if we make it to Springer, that was how we had to word
God willing.
everything. God willing, like trail providing. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard to like kind of reframe your mindset of like, I know we're gonna make it. There was never a doubt in my mind the entire time that we weren't gonna make it. I just didn't know how we were gonna do it because it seemed impossible so many times. But I knew we were gonna get there, and I knew we were gonna do something amazing. I knew we were gonna make history in some kind of way. I just had no clue how it was gonna work. And yeah, so I think a lot of trail was just kind of trying to convince Tara that like, no, like I know we like don't have this in the bag yet, but like we've got this in the bag. Like we just got to keep moving, and we're gonna do it. Because at no point were you ever like severely injured? Were you like having these overuse injuries? Your body was the vessel that kept moving and just kept doing it. Anytime I was like, all right, 58, 60 miles, like let's do it. You did, you did it.
While she's
And
doing the
so
math on her phone.
right. While she's like, no, I don't want it. And I'm like, it's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine. So it was mostly a mental game, like the whole time. But she eventually kind of let go of a lot of things and just let her body and mind be led by the whole crew. And I think that's when we finally had like a turn in the whole endeavor. I was like, oh, okay. Like when she stopped begging me for one last mile every evening, I was like, oh, okay, now we've got this. Because she's like, yeah, she's like sad that she's going to get less sleep and it's like going to be really hard. And she's accepting that and she's crying about it, but she's still doing it. So it's fine. Like, it's going to
Crying
happen.
as I'm running.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I'm like, all right, you're wasting a lot of energy. A lot
I'm
of
getting
tears coming through.
dehydrated.
You're dehydrating yourself.
Seriously.
That kind of makes me think of something else, though, just hearing
Yeah.
Rascal talk. I've seen, they say don't read the comments, but sometimes I just get into the
they're
comments.
really fun to read.
And there's like two sentiments that I've seen, like, oh, she didn't see the nature, whatever. I don't even care about that one because I did. But then there's another one over here that says, like, she didn't even carry any of her stuff. She had all these people with her. And like, yeah, I did.
It's a supported effort.
It's a support effort. It's not me. I literally gave up my autonomy and my like thoughts and like my decision making, and like people did things that I would not want them to do to me otherwise in regular life. Like, yeah, I was literally this vessel. Rascal said I was a vessel. I was a vessel that these people were propelling forward. I was just running. And yeah, of course I had all these people with me, and it was a team effort, and I had no say on a lot of things. And people have said that, and it's like, yeah, it wasn't just my record. It is Rascal's, and it's all my pacers, it's my mom's, it's all these people's record. And the community of the Appalachian Trail, I had so many people come out that love the Appalachian Trail and just want to be part of this. And
that's the thing. Every single person wanted to be out there.
yeah. And it's like, yeah, you're right. I did have a lot of people because I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't propel myself away that, I did without these people.
No, I think it's awesome. But yeah, don't read too many of the comments.
It's okay. I've been trolling
most of them, I feel like,
back,
are like, before I say goodbye here, I put together a quick little would you rather segment. And so we might have to pull the reels on this because I actually was extra bored apparently yesterday and I made a PowerPoint presentation of this.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I love that.
I can figure this out. I'm not a Zoom master, but I think I can do this. Okay, so the first few are for Tara. And so, okay, can you
look at this?
see? I wonder, can you still see it? Can you still see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
So Tara, would you rather, I don't know how to,
try
here we go.
spacebar.
Oh, here we go. Would you rather eat?
Ooh,
There you go. Yeah.
that's a hard one.
So
Would
for
I
our
rather
listeners, if you're, I guess I'll actually say it. Would you rather eat Twizzlers or chicken nuggets?
Okay, like the sustenance. I was all about sustenance out there, and just like
Yes.
eating wasn't enjoyable. It was just a means to the end. And I would say, chicken nuggets for sure, because that gave me a little protein. Twizzlers, that was enjoyable, but I can't sustain myself.
Yeah.
Serving size only on those Twizzlers, though, right, Tara?
Yeah, just 2 per bag.
Okay. Did you beat Carl Sabe's record or Carl Sabe's record? Okay. This is like bugging me, and I've decided since you now have the record, you get to determine how we're all going to say his name going forward, because I will listen to interviews with you and everyone's saying his name differently. And I'm like, for the love of God, can we just ask him? But then I'm not going to ask him. So I'm just going to ask you. How do we say his name?
I would say Carl, because somebody corrected me before I even started and said Carl, and I would just like never diverted from that. But
Okay.
a lot of
I've
people
always
say
said Carl too. Yeah.
Iceman says
correct.
Carol. I think Iceman says Carol Sabe.
I used to say Carol too, and then somebody's like, no, it's Carl. It's like, okay, it's Carl then. We're doing Carl.
I don't
All
know.
right. You heard it here, everyone. We're doing Carl.
I feel like I should ask him, but I can also be an expert on his name, I guess.
All right. Would you rather have rocks in your shoes for the day or a broken trekking pole?
Oof.
Oh my gosh, broken trekking pole
Trekking
all
pole.
day. Oh my gosh,
okay.
all day.
All right, Rascal, your turn. You ready?
Okay.
Would you rather? This is
Oh
a good
God.
one. for the segment, not the whole day,
Yeah.
for the segment, would you rather have a flat tire or would you rather have to drive in reverse the whole way to the next
Oh God.
spot?
Reverse, because I'll make it there. I'm nervous about my tire changing abilities.
I'm surprised that's not
Rascal.
something she didn't do the extra time before you started, like tire changing drills.
Well, I was
And I
thinking
got
that. I
really
was
good at
actually
whipping
thinking
that van around, so
Rascal, you would not make it there driving reverse because
Reverse would be really
yeah,
hard.
there's
no,
no
man.
way. There's no way, Rascal. There's zero way you make it.
At one so just a couple when we were at the cabin, I got the van stuck up a road and I called Kenny to come save me. And he did help me, but we backed up like at least 4 miles worth of trail. And it worked, but it was bad. I didn't tell you that, but it was bad.
All right. Next is so Rascal's a triple crowner. Would you rather hike again, AT, CDT, or PCT?
God, I hate this question. I love them all so much.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
I think you would do the CDT again just because the experience, you would want this like new updated experience.
Yeah, I think CDT or PCT. But yeah, I think CDT I'm gonna go back for next again.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then last one, this one's really out there, so bear with me.
Okay.
So there's a random man in a parking lot where you're stuck for 4 hours. You're like, hi, I'm Rascal. And would you rather he gets that wrong and calls you rooster the whole time or rattlesnake the whole time?
Ooh, man. I don't know. I kind of like rooster. That's a good one.
All right. Thank you for playing my little game. I might have to do this more. This was very fun.
Oh,
for
I
me.
love that.
Yeah, that was good.
Somebody called her Roscoe for a little bit.
Rascal. I've gotten Rascal, Razangul.
Oh, that's
Yep.
amazing.
A couple of weird ones.
Tara and Rascal, thank you so much. So Tara, you did this trek to raise money also for Girls on the Run. It is like blowing up. Ultra, one of your sponsors, is matching, I think, and I think the last time I looked, you were over $34,000, which is so exciting.
We hit 40K, Alyssa.
Oh my gosh! Oh
we
my
hit
gosh,
40K.
okay.
I'm hoping for 50 because then Ultra's gonna match it and then it'd be 100.
I mean, okay, so we're putting the link out with this. Everyone can go check. We will also be linking to both of your YouTube channels. Super fun. And I mean, you guys just keep me young watching your vlogs and stuff. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for taking time so soon after you finished and chatting with me today. It was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
For real. Happy trails.
Thank you so much to Tara and Rascal for coming on. I had a blast getting to chat with them more about Tara's record-setting run and finding out more of what went on behind the scenes from Rascal. So thank you so much to both of them for taking time in this week after. I know they're both super tired and trying to get back to normal life. So totally appreciate it. And Haley, I had a lot of fun making the Would You Rather questions for Tara and Rascal, so I came up with one for you as well. Would you like to give it a try? I didn't make you a PowerPoint presentation with it, though, when I did it for them, but this one's pretty good. And I don't know, for our listeners, my brain is like on another planet when it makes these up, so just excuse how weird this one is. Haley, you're running Ironman Chattanooga Run. Would you rather have a man who jumps out of like a bush or wherever you are, right, every mile in front of you, okay, and yells, "Hallelujah, Haley," every single mile? He jumps in front of you and just looks at you and goes, "Hippity bippity bop."
Wait, so the man's jumping out no matter what? There's no
matter
option
what.
without a man?
No matter what, yeah. So do
jumping
you want him
out?
yelling a hallelujah or hippity bippity bop? Which is your preference?
Hallelujah. It's shorter.
And he gets out of your way. He's not in your way.
Okay, that's a lot of miles. That's 26.
I mean, it's gonna get
this man is jumping
it's gonna get so. And like, how is he getting from mile to mile, right? Like,
I know he's got to be running as fast as
he's
me,
like
I guess. in
teleporting,
between.
yeah.
That's an impressive man. But I'll take hallelujah.
Okay.
Okay, I actually have one for you, Alyssa.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Would you rather? Okay. Would you rather try to set a single day fastest known time with Ramona and Max? You have to bring both of them with you, both of your dogs with you.
Okay.
Or would you like to do a full Ironman dressed as Taylor Swift?
Whoa. This is a good one. Whoa.
It's your thought process.
I know. Okay. So I think the bonding experience of like doing the fastest known time would be really rewarding for me. And I think it would finally give me a chance to purchase the backpack for Ramona that I've been wanting to buy so that like I can just
Is this a backpack for her to wear or for you to wear her on your back?
For me to wear her on my back.
Oh my gosh.
And then Matt, because she's 40 pounds, which actually 40
That's
pounds
a lot
is
on
really
your back.
a lot. Yeah, she lost a little bit of weight lately, but it'd still be a lot. But I think it would be really hard, but it would be fun. And then thinking of that too makes me think that I'd be like hiking again, which I miss a lot. So I think that's like why I'm leaning towards that. But I think this Ironman dress as Taylor Swift is like something that needs to happen. And I feel like it has your name all over it. I mean,
I feel like I should try this.
Maybe we ask Disney to put on a Ironman event for you where you can dress up as Taylor Swift because she's basically a Disney princess too. So I don't know. I feel like that has to be done by someone.
I actually did see a man dressed as Taylor Swift on the run in Chattanooga. And so
did he jump out yelling hippity bippity?
No, but he had like a shirt that says like a lot going on at the moment. And then he had like heart-shaped glasses. So from the Red era.
Nice.
So
yeah,
I don't know if he did the full bike like that. I only saw him on the run. So, and I guess the swim would be a challenging one. How do you swim dressed as Taylor Swift? But this is something I can think about while I'm planning my next race.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Always fun, always good for people looking for entertainment on long bike rides. You're welcome. Play Would You Rather. It's really fun.
Yeah. Let us know if you would you rather have a man yell hallelujah or bippity boppity boop every mile, or would you, if you have a dog? I mean, I feel like doing an FKT with a cat. You can replace your own animal, or that kind of thing versus dressed as Taylor Swift. Send it into our mailbag with any questions. IronWomenPodcast@gmail.com. Alyssa, it was great to catch up with you, and I will talk to you again next week.
Happy recovery week, Haley. Bye.
You've been listening to the Iron Women podcast hosted by Haley Chura and Alyssa Godesky.
Iron Women is a production of Feisty Media and is edited by Lydia Russell and produced by Ella Natishan.
Head to livefeisty.com to find more podcasts, stories, and fresh perspectives.
Thanks for listening.